keeping these commandments. What is Jesus talking about? If we just kind of hear that out of context, keep the commandments, well, our mind automatically goes back to the 10 Commandments. Think about keeping those commandments. But in the context of John's writings, that's not what's being talked about. Jesus is not saying, if you love me, you're going to keep the 10 Commandments. I'm not saying that's untrue. However, what Jesus is talking about here with reference to commands or the command or the word, as he says in many other contexts, is best interpreted in light of the way that Jesus speaks about commands or his command to his disciples. So let's first of all take a look at what the Greek verb is there, its Hebrew counterpart, and the various ways in which it's used in the Gospel of John. The Greek verb itself, which is translated here as keep, is tereo. The Hebrew equivalent of that would be shamar. Shamar is used repeatedly in the Old Testament for guarding something, for watching over something, for keeping something, for protecting something. To shamar the word of God, or shamar the commandments of God, are to watch these, to hold these, to bear these with you, to guard them, to keep them. Everything is entailed with that Hebrew verb. And the Greek verb is similar to that. It can be translated quite literally as to guard, as if you're guarding a prisoner, to keep the prisoner. But it has this wider range of keeping, of guarding, of holding the...
Shalom Aleichem, Yisrael Ya'el, Yehonathan Dawid with you here, humbly so, on what they call the 14th of May, 2023, on an economic boost day they call Mother's Day, because there's a downturn in the economy between pagan holidays. And then it gets even worse next month, so they put a Daddy Day in there. But that is Chad Bird from 1517 Ministries, and a segment entitled Christ's Sending of the Paraclete. Paraclete is Greek for Ruach HaKodesh, which is Hebrew for Holy Spirit. So today's topic is, This is My Family, Zeh Moledethee. Zeh Moledethee. This is my family. And I opened up with this because in here, Yahweh is going to explain who his family is. And they keep his commands. But because Hasatan has put an improper image into our minds, he seeded an improper image into the hearts of our minds. When we hear the word commands, the wrong image comes up. So I wanted to give you a resource from somebody who has a doctorate and teaches Greek and Hebrew. And he's going to explain. We're going to go back to a later portion of his segment to explain, give us a proper image of this word commands and what it really means, because it does not mean Moshe coming down from Mount Sinai. It does not mean 666, whatever how many commandments there are. It does not mean that. And this man will also let you know that, which I've been saying that for years. So, Zeh Moledethee, this is my family. And I want to finish up. Last week we talked about definitely one of the top 3 most misused scriptures in all the Bible, Luke 23:34, because we know that Hasatan is trying to get into his wickedness and his hordes, thinking any kind of way to get in where they don't fit in, and they gonna talk about forgive them for they know not what they're doing. Here's what it says in my brother's slang Greek: Ho diusus elegant pater ethes autus ogar odiasin tipoisan. Key emphasis on ogar. What is that in English? My bad. And Jesus was saying, Father, forgive them not. Not. N-O-T. If you don't know what not means, get a dictionary and look it up. Actually, you got phones, get on your smartphone and look up the word not. Father, forgive them not, for they know what they do. That is what it says. And then last week, I kind of put the commentary of the Old Testament, New Testament on the Old Testament. I kind of put them on blast last week, and I'm going to have to apologize a little bit because they do not translate that portion of Luke. And I found out last week why when I did some more research. It's because that was added in. Everything I just read was added in the first place. That's not even there originally. Now, there's the second part. I didn't want to go to it of Luke 23:34. But Yahweh should never said it in the first place. So not only did he not say it, which is why my commentary of the New Testament on the Old Testament is not translating it, because it wasn't there. And then even after they put it there, even after Hasatan's translating hordes put it there, they put it there in deviant language of English, saying to forgive them for they know not what they do, which he didn't even say that. Even in Greek, it doesn't say that. I put out there on social media 3 references, so you don't have to just believe me. 3 Greek references, and not only that, a 4th would be this man right here. Chad Barrett would be a 4th. I didn't use him to say that he did not say that. It was added. And why was it added? Because the devil still thinks he's going to get in heaven, get back into the kingdom. This is, I talked about cognitive dissonance. I'm going to read it to you in case you don't have a smartphone or dictionary to look up. And that is the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as related to behavioral decision and attitude change. This is people who want to just try to defend their boxed understanding of knowledge no matter what the facts say. And this is what's going to cause the worldwide confusion and deception. Yahweh Shua was not hanging on that tree being persecuted by demons asking for them to be forgiven. We know and we know they were these men were demon possessed. These leaders of Israel, these were our leaders who did this. Not the people, although the people were incited. But 1 Corinthians 2:8, and it reads, let me see, I wanted to read this myself. These demons didn't know that, and it reads, actually I want to go up to verse 7. But we speak the wisdom of Yahweh in a mystery, the hidden wisdom which Yahweh ordained before the ages of our glory, which none of the rulers of this age knew, because had they known, they would not have executed the Master of glory. See that? This title is called Zeh Moledethee. This is my family. Because we're going to see, because of cognitive dissonance, Yahweh is going to change his tactic of how he presents this new covenant, this renewed covenant that is being spoken right now as I'm speaking in a mystery to those whose eyes are darkened, because seeing they do not see, hearing they do not hear. So Yahweh is going to show a new tactic, going to give a new tactic. We're going to get to that, because while they were persecuting him, they did not realize that they were sealing their own death by killing the Messiah. They sealed their defeat. Once realizing that this man literally went all the way to death, they said the last ditch effort was to keep him in there, keep him in the tomb. Well, we know what happened after the 3rd day. We know what happened. He came up out of there. So what we got now? 1 Corinthians 15:54. Oh man. Oh my. 1 Corinthians 15:54. So when this corruptible has put on incorruption, and this mortal has put on immortality, then will be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. Wow, one of the most encouraging scriptures in all the book. Death is swallowed up in victory. The last enemy that we have is death. No, it's not your neighbor across the street who won't mow his grass. No, it's not the person who cut you off this morning who's going to work. No, it's not your son who keeps coming home late. No, it's death. No, it's not the IRS. No, it's not the speed cameras. It's death. And that is swallowed up in victory by the death of Yahweh Shua, followed by his 3rd day resurrection. That is so uplifting. That is so encouraging. And had the demons known that, they wouldn't have killed him. That's what the record says right here. So you're going to say that he was up there in that tree praying for forgiveness of them? Did you read Psalm 22? He said, I'm surrounded by these are devils. These are lions and bulls. They are demons. He did not pray for forgiveness for these bastards, these demons, these men who were demon possessed, the leaders of Israel, who incited many of us. What does the record say? Let me go to Isaiah again. Isaiah 53, 11 and 12. Isaiah 53. Because I like to back everything up with the word. He will see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many. I gave you homework last week. I said, look up the word many, the Hebrew word for it, Hebrews 7:2-7. And he will bear their iniquities. So if you read that, maybe verse 12. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he will divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death. And he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Many. So it was used in verse 11 and verse 12. And the Hebrew word for many is rab. And it means many. Now, so many as opposed to the word all. Like in Genesis 5:5 when it says that all of Adam's years was 930 years. All of his years. Not 929, not 931. All his years was 930. That was his complete amount of years. So, many is not all. Yahweh Shua did not die for all. It says it right here. He said for many. He even said that he came for only the lost sheep of Israel. That's what he says. He said, I only came for the lost sheep of Israel in Matthew 15:24. Matter of fact, I think a few verses before that, when he sent out the 12 disciples, he said, only go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So the man, Bimilotah, in his own words, he said, I've only came to seek my sheep. When Moshe left to go find that one sheep that left, that got him, ended up going to the burning bush, Moshe was not chasing after a sheep for another shepherd. He was chasing after his own sheep. And there began you getting those 600 plus commandments. So I want you to resist, because everybody want to tout John 3:16. God so loved the world. God ain't loved nothing. Everybody just open up their mouth and name it and claim it, blab it and grab it. They don't go down to John 3:18. That you believe on his name. And you accept. If you don't accept it, you are condemned. If you're in the city, you know what a condemned building looks like. Not worthy of anybody living in it. Don't try to bring a nice cold beer up in there and put it in the fridge, because you don't have no electricity in there. Holes in the ceilings. You can't. Don't hope it don't rain. A condemned building is not habitable. Yahweh does not live in a condemned building. He says, open door coming out, but sup with you and eat with you. You have to have a clean house for him to come into. So John 3:18 says, you believe on his name. If you don't, you are inhabitable. They don't want to read that. They stopped at John 3:16. And then he says that he came, he bled and died for the many, not the all. It swallowed them. Isaiah 25:7. Man, I got so many good scriptures here. I'm not even going to go there, but the veil that covers up everyone's eyes. And then verse 8, he's going to take it away. I'm not even going to go there. But anyway, brother man, cue up our first one.
He goes through dry places, seeking rest, and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and put in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits, more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation.
And you think he forgave them. You clean the house, You was a gambler, you lost your wife, you lost your house, you lost your car, so you stopped gambling, but you didn't replace it with anything Tob, anything good. You didn't replace it with Yahweh Shua. So then the demons came back, and now you done got a job for the first time in 3 years, got a girlfriend, you got a little place, and then because you didn't replace your clean house with Yahweh Shua, you lost it all again. And you were even worse off because now you done added drugs on top of your gambling habit. That's what this is talking about. This is from last week. I'm just we following up from last week. How this is the temporary reform is not good enough. Teshuvah, turn, repent. That means you go a complete opposite direction and you stay that way. There is no forgiveness for them who receive Yahweh Shua and then turn up your tail against him. After you might as well stay where you were. And then he says, brother man, go and cue up number 2. John, that was Matthew 12:43 to 45. Now he's getting ready to cue up John 15:4 through 6.
Bring up because abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered, and they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned.
You see that? I don't care what it is. Any problem you have, small or great, if you have a problem of lying, if you're a kleptomaniac, if you just want to lose weight, you cannot do it on your own. If you could do it on your own, then you would not have that problem. You wouldn't have that problem. You have it because it is stronger than you. You have minor demons, you have major demons. But if you abide in Yah, you cannot sweep the house clean and then say, okay, I got this. I'm good. I got this. I can do this. I got Jenny Craig. She's going to keep me on through. I'm going to have these 6-pack abs. No, you're going to go right back to being a fat dump without your higher power. Yahweh Shua says, that's me. He says that's him. So now we're going to go into today's lesson. Zeh Moledethee. Zeh Moledethee. This is my family. And I hope you got it clear that Yahweh Shua ain't never asked for forgiveness for no demons. Those men at the base of that tree, stoning him and laughing at him and mocking him, were filled with the devil and his demons. And there was no forgiveness for them. So now, Zeh Moledethee, who is Yah's family? Okay? So Brother Man's he's going to pull up Mark 3:31 through 35.
And standing outside, they sent to him, calling him. And a multitude was sitting around him, and they said to him,
Look, your mother and your brothers are outside seeking you.
Who is my mother or my brothers?
And he looked around in a circle at those who sat about him.
Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of God is my brother and my sister and mother.
I don't think you need to read anything deep Hebrew or Greek on that. He says, who's right here at my feet? Who's under me? Who is Shema? Who's listening? That's who my family is. I don't need to get too deep on that. He said it straight out of their own mouth. This is my family. Matter of fact, the narrative from Luke 8, 9, we're not going to go there. Luke 8, 19 to 21. He says, my family is the one who hears the word of my Father and does the word of my Father. Not just, see, you cannot hear your wife screaming upstairs and say help and say, oh, I believe she needs help and keep looking at the football game and drink another beer. You believe she needs help, so you get up and do an action. You go upstairs and see what she's screaming about. Belief elicits action. You don't believe there's a need of help and just sit there looking at the game and she's up there screaming. You move. You don't believe the house on fire and stay there and don't get your children. You believe the house on fire, so you grab your children and you get out. Belief elicits action. And in Luke 8, 19, 20, Yahweh Shua says that. He says, you believe, you hear the word of my Father, and you do. These are my sheep. I wish I could pull up the audio on this student. I don't have it. I can't find it now. I'll bet your mother could find it though in the last second. That wasn't true. But this student, I think she was in like Amsterdam or Switzerland, someplace like that. And there was 3 herds of sheep came together on this common road. She was going from town to town for her doctorate dissertation. And so of course she stopped her car and she was taking pictures and she was amused by this. And she noticed, she said, wait a minute. It's literally thousands of sheep, she said, came together from these 3 different shepherds. And then the 3 men are talking and laughing, and they know each other. You know, they talking and sharing stories. And so finally, they call out. She was like, "What are you gonna do?" Each shepherd, this is real, called out. They screamed out to the sheep, "Oh, let's go!" And they went their separate ways. All that conflux of sheep, thousands in front of this young lady, doing her doctoral dissertation. They all went to their shepherd. All through that maze, all those sheep, they knew where to go. She changed what she was going to write about. Seeing that inspired her so much. Man, I'm going to have to look for that. And to see, there are 2 qualities that sheep have. There are others, but it's 2 of them. One of them is bad eyesight, but great hearing. Sheep were created to have great, astute hearing. And they need that because out in the plains, you have miles and miles and acres of land, and all these shepherds, they have to know how they're going to easily get lost. They know their specific shepherd's voice. They know their particular one. And this played itself out right in front of this young student during her doctoral dissertation. 3 different shepherds. And this is why Yahweh says he is the good shepherd. That's why the main animal, I think the only animal that we are all called are sheep. The psalmist says we are your people, the sheep of your pasture. Your pasture. Not Hasatan's pasture. Not Santa Claus's pasture. Not the Easter Bunny's pasture. Not the Valentine, but you're the shepherd of Yahweh's pasture. And if you hear his voice, you discern it, you shema, you know where to go. And if you know where to go, you have to, if you know, then you have to do. See, if you don't do, then you must really don't know. And Yahweh said he only came for those who are his. He ain't feeding everybody on the block. You don't call out John Junior time to come in and eat, and everybody in the block coming to your house trying to find a seat at your table. I mean, you can't feed people, but that's not what the expectation is. And you ain't coming up in Yahweh's house unless you shema. If you got a teshuvah, then shema. All right, let me see. So, I think what I want to do. All right, Chris, go to the next one.
John.
1 John. Yeah, 1 John. This is 1 John 2, 3 through 11.
Now by this we know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. He who says, I know him, and does not keep his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, truly the love of God is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. He who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked. Brethren, I write no new commandment to you, but an old commandment which you have had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write to you, which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is passing away, and the true light is already shining. He who says he is in the light and hates his brother is in darkness until now. He who loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no cause for stumbling in him. But he who hates his brother is in darkness and walks in darkness, and does not know where he is going.
Wow. You know what? The disciples got it. But here today, our new brews and she brews and wannabe brews are waking up and going to bring and dig up Moshe. When this man clearly says that this is a new thing. And really, it's not a new thing. It's the same as the old thing. It's just refreshed. It's Chris. So let's see. I'm always getting him. He don't know what I'm getting ready to say right now.
Never.
So you go and get a 2024 Corvette. They cost about like $93,000, something like that.
Okay.
I get a 1965 one refurbished. It's six figures.
Right.
We both have new cars?
I would say it.
Yeah, we got new cars.
Yeah.
But is mine the same new as yours?
Yeah, because it's new to both of us.
So the brother said, it's new to me.
Yeah.
So we both got two new cars. One is a 2024 Corvette. As a matter of fact, I already did this. I looked up the original ones. It'd be more expensive than if you get it refurbished.
Current year.
Yeah. Because you can't make that anymore.
Right.
So even though you have a new commandment, it's still it's still like it's still the same car.
Right.
It's the same car. They're still Corvettes. It's just refreshed. It's refurbished. Matter of fact, Shaul, who all the new, bruised, immature learners of the Torah choke on Paul. They need to start reading Paul. Read Yochanan. Read John. Read the Gospel of John. Read 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. Don't read Revelation, because if you're choking on Paul, you ain't gonna understand Revelation. And he makes it more simple. He said, it's the same old commandment. It's the same as now. But it's just that you love one another. And then Paul said the same thing in Romans 13:9. He said the summary of all the commandments is this, that you have love for one another. That's the summary. Yet they choke on Paul and say, see, you're supposed to keep 600 something commandments. Yochanan says no. It's summarized in just loving Yahweh and loving his creation. Yahweh Shua said it himself in Matthew 7:12. You call it the golden rule. Can you imagine waking up tomorrow? Just imagine this. I'm hoping this sinks in. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning and every person you encounter treats you the way you want to be treated. Everyone. So you wake up, you see your wife, she treats you the way you want to be treated. Children, before they go out, they treat you the way you want to be treated. On the road, nobody cuts you off. Everybody, treats you the way you want to be treated. Go to work, boss treats you the way you want to be treated. Your co-workers. You go to the markets, everybody, every day, the whole day, you was treated exactly the way you think you should be treated. Wow. And then in turn, you do the same. You do the same thing. You don't cut the person off. You don't cheat on the boss, cheat on your wife. You don't come in late for the boss. You treat the other people the way you want to be treated. Yahweh Shua can stay on his throne. What are you going to come down here for? What are you going to do when he get down here? We're already doing what he said in Matthew 7:12. Do unto others you haven't done unto you. He can stay right on up there. Where you going to come down? Because when he comes, he says there's no faithfulness on the earth. He says he's going to make the first last and last first. He's going to turn everything upside down, right side up. But if we already doing what we're supposed to do, he ain't got to. We going to turn up. That is what Yochanan is saying right here. That's what Shaul said. That's what Yahshua said. That's what I'm saying about these commands. Matter of fact, brother, go ahead and cue. This is Chad Bird, 1517 Ministries, and he's going to tell us what commands mean. This is a man who teaches Greek particularly, and also Hebrew.
A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So it seems in the context of John's Gospel, when Jesus talks about keeping his command, or keeping his commandments, or keeping his word, all of that should be understood in kind of in a holistic sort of way, but in particular in reference to the command to love one another. So Jesus says, I have loved you, and now you are to love one another. And of course, this is the greatest command, as we hear elsewhere in the scriptures, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And so that is the commandment that Jesus gives.
So he did not say Moshe. See, what the devil does is he put the wrong image in your mind when you hear the word commandments. Because that's what he's going to use in the last days to deceive the whole world. Because who's going to argue against the commandments? You can find a drunk on the corner who's not going to say the commandments are bad. You can find a hoe in the corner, anybody. Somebody robbing or murdering, people in prison are not going to say the commandments are bad. Nobody's going to say the commandments are a bad thing. Thus, that is what Hasatan is going to use to deceive the whole world. Wow, read Exodus 19 and 9. Oh, I'm going to go there. It's deep. I'm not going to go there, but give you an example of why he wanted Moses' body in the first place. He wanted, because that will be his puppet to deceive the whole world with. So he's not going to let him have Moses' body. But the understanding that we should have today in 2023, May the 14th on Mother's Day, the year of their Lord, is not Moshe on Mount Sinai. The image you need to have is Yahweh on the Mount of Olives. In the Beatitudes, or how your attitude ought to be. That's what should be in your image. The Mount of Olives discourse that we did 2 months ago. Of how your attitude ought to be. That is what should be in your mind. Not Moshe. So the man with a doctorate degrees and travels the world. He's out of the country now, based on following him. Says the same thing I've been saying for years. But you're going to be deceived with the commandments. So that was him in a segment called Christ Sending the Paraclete, which means, now the Edomites know this. That's why they want to teach. This social media, they love it that they created, because everybody think they know something. I had to defriend somebody last week, going to try to put me on blast and don't know jack. If you think you're right, don't you think you should at least respect the person you're correcting and not call them dumb, stupid, call them kind of name, and put them down? And what if the person they would be dumb and stupid to follow you? You don't even open up their ears to be corrected. But that's what social media espouses, that you just go ahead and attack one another. And that in itself, and you hear attack one another with the commandments of all things. Everybody throwing pieces of the 10 Commandments stones at each other. You dumb, stupid, you don't know what you're doing. It says this, it says that. Blasting everybody, cursing everybody out. And literally cursing. You talking about the commandments and you're cursing. Literally. I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you, you Brews, y'all need to sit down and be quiet. Don't teach. Don't teach. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're not qualified. You're not qualified. You don't know it. You don't know enough. You need to sit down, be quiet, and listen. Listen, and definitely don't be trying to lead no congregation to preach. But don't teach. Just give exhortations and praise and honor, support stuff, positive things. But don't try to call yourself teaching the people. You're just heaping coals on your head. You're going to be surprised, because you're going to be just like those goats on the left, those one out early ones, with your resume in your hand of all those commandments you kept, with your fake CCs that you got from Amazon. And you got yourself 2 stupid other women who now you got 3 wives, and you're going to have your little resume up there thinking you getting in the kingdom. And you're going to say, depart from me, I never knew you. That means he never did know. Even when you thought you was doing right, he never even knew you. And the Hebrew word for know means intimacy. It means relationship. That means he never had a relationship with you. You didn't abide in him. No, you didn't. And he definitely didn't abide in you. You're a condemned building. You did not believe on the name of the Most High Yahweh HaMashiach. Thought I'd just stop here and tell you that in his family, Zeh Moledethee are those who Shema, who Teshua and Shema. My man, give us Luke 11:33 to 36.
No one, when he has lit a lamp, puts it in a secret place or under a basket, but on a lampstand, that those who come in may see the light. The lamp of the body is the eye. Therefore, when your eye is good, your whole body also is full of light. But when your eye is bad, your body also is full of darkness. Therefore take heed, that the light which is in you is not darkness. If then your whole body is full of light, having no part dark, the whole body will be full of light, as when the bright shining of a lamp gives you light.
The record says, in Yahweh is light, lo choshech. In Yahweh is Or, Lo Choshek. He is light. The beginning of your Bible says, let there be light. That's the very beginning of the book, of your Bible. In Yahweh is light. Or, Lo Choshek. So you cannot mix. There's no such thing as having mixed light. When lightness comes, darkness flees. They can't be together. When the light goes out, then it's dark. When light leaves, it's dark. So you're not going to lathe Yahweh's word with darkness. And you're going to, and the eye is the portal. The eye is the portal. So you want to guard your portal. This is what Hasatan is going to use for his trickeration. With the eyes, the signs and wonders. I bet you don't even realize this, that in the book of Revelations, all those signs and wonders come from the sky. But the revelation comes from the ground. I bet you didn't even pick that up. When Yahweh Shua appears. Because you don't get nothing from Yahweh from the sky in terms of him until it's all said and done. Until after the millennium. But before the millennium, what you see in the sky and the air is going to be deception. For the most part. Because we do have those 3 Malachim. So you need to guard the eye. The eye is the portal for the knowledge. The mind really sees the knowledge. It lets you know it tells you what you saw, and the heart tells you to believe it or not. So the eye is the portal. The mind explains what the portal saw, and the heart believes what the mind tells it. Thus, we need to make sure we have the proper image in our minds, which is why this is what I do in Original Words will help you get original truth. I try to put the proper image into your mind so your heart will not be fooled in the latter days about what things look like. What they look like. There's no such thing as your Savior carrying no white man, carrying no cross. That's not true. There's no such thing as no ugly devil. You ain't never seen anything so beautiful as the devil. Ain't no such thing as the devil being ugly. He wants you to think that, so when he comes there looking all beautiful and smile, that pearly smile gleaming, you're not going to know it's the devil. Because you're too busy thinking he's red with horns and a pitchfork when he's a beautiful man. There's no such thing as the whore being looking like an ugly prostitute. You're talking about you're not going to see a more beautiful woman. And the laws are going to look good. Why else would anybody follow them? Everything that you're going to be given by the politicians, every law and rule, everything they say, every platform is going to look good. That's how you deceive. You don't put up nothing bad and say this is good. You put up with something that's bad and looks good to deceive. So we need to love truth. Remember, we talked about Yahweh. That's why he says, woe to those who call good bad and bad good. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You must love truth and hate lies. If you have without thinking, if it's just a natural reaction to hate lies, then you're all right, you're good. If it's a natural reaction to seek truth, not just wait until Sabbath or Sunday school, seek truth. Abide, he says, abide in me. Do that naturally, then you are in good stead. You're in good stead. Dawid says in Psalm 101:3 that he will set no wicked thing before his portal. He ain't put no wicked thing for his son. Proverbs 4:25 says, keep your eyes straight. Little booty walk by and you go over there looking at that. Somebody with a better job offer, you go look at that. Somebody got a different car. He said, keep your eyes straight. Proverbs 4:25. Keep them low and straight. Brother man, give me Luke 11:37-54. Luke 11:37-54.
And as he spoke, a certain Pharisee asked him to dine with him. So he went in and sat down to eat. When the Pharisee saw it, He marveled that he had not first washed before dinner.
Now, you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and dish clean, but your inward part is full of greed and wickedness. Foolish ones, did not he who made the outside make the inside also? But rather give alms of such things as you have, that indeed all things are clean to you. But woe to you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs, and pass by justice and the love of God. These you ought to have done, without leaving the others undone. Woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like graves which are not seen, and the men who walk over them are not aware of them.
Then one of the lawyers answered,
Teacher, by saying these things you reproach us also.
Woe to you also, lawyers, for you load men with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe to you, for you build the tombs of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. In fact, you bear witness that you approve the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and you build their tombs. Therefore the wisdom of God also said, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they will kill and persecute, that the blood of all the prophets which was shed from the foundation of the world may be required of this generation, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who perished between the altar and the temple. Yes, I say to you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe to you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in, you hindered.
And as he said these things to them, the scribes and the Pharisees began to assail him vehemently, and to cross-examine him about many things, lying in wait for him, and seeking to catch him in something he might say, that they might accuse him.
Man. If you read the narrative, before that, you know what this confrontation happened? It happened in one of the Pharisees' home for dinner. He got after, the narrative before that, he's doing his thing. So one of the Pharisees invited him in. And so Yahshua goes into his house. Then, of course, all the elite go in there with him. And he didn't wash his hands. It's not just washing your hands, but they had a ritualistic way of doing the hands. So they gonna call themselves, hey, you didn't wash your hands? And that's when he assailed on them. Can you imagine going to somebody's house and you blasting them? This happened in the man's house. And then one Lord said, hey, you talking about us too. And then he blasted him. They never got a chance to eat. If you see after that, we go into the next narrative. After that, he leaves. He's invited into their house. He went into the lion's den and put them on point. I'm still waiting for the Maryland Lynching Project. You promised me in an interview. I gave you the questions ahead of time and you scared. Because those damnable bastards, they want to go ahead and destroy Yahweh's people and then monumentalize it. And that's what Yahweh said right here. From Abel to Zechariah. That's what the leaders do. And he put them on point and blessed. And he said, you're hypocrites. You look good on the outside. You look beautiful and wonderful on the outside. But you're foul and vile. On the way from the city of David to the tree, to the Mount of Olives, they had a bridge over there. And that's where you see the scene with Jesus carrying the cross, where he's walking across that bridge. Okay? And reason why that bridge is there, of course, it's convenient. But not only that, underneath that part of the mountain, all there to the city and to the water, because there's a water goes around the city at that point. That's where this graveyard that is, dead bones. So you cannot go into the Holy Land, especially during the feast days, and be defiled by being around grave and all that stuff. So this Yahweh says you're vile. You're vile and defiled. Because you're like someone walking over a graveyard. That's what you're up. You're going to talk about, I didn't wash my hands. You're so filthy. It's like somebody, you're dead and don't know it. And it's like you walking amongst dead people. That's what he said right at the dinner table. Talk about he ain't biting his tongue. Y'all want to make him like he's so soft and everybody just come and believe. What? He at the man's table and blasted all of them. Don't you dare try to correct him. Tell him he need to watch it. What? Have you seen your heart? Oh no, you're so. See, like I said, so you say our own stench. You go into the bathroom, you blast that thing so hard the paint peeling. You in there whistling, reading Sports Illustrated while you in there doing your thing. You get out, go on, wash your hands, go out. But next person's coming in, they tears watering. They can't go. They gotta wait 2 hours. They ain't go in there because it's not their stench. It's yours. You fine. You whistling, bouncing out there. Ooh. You don't. We don't realize that we need to receive Yahushua. We don't realize our own stuff. They at the dinner table, foul and vile, stench, wrench, and going to talk about him and his hands. Hands that they've seen heal. That they seen heal. When's the last time their hands healed anybody? But you know what? They were clean though, weren't they? Cuticles all done. Cuticles look nice. The nail beds all purty. They go to the nail spa every week. Bunch of men up there, toenails done too. All scribes, Pharisees, and lawyers getting their nails did. Y'all sure working man. He out there. He got rough hands. He used to be they say carpenter is not, but he was a brick mason. So there's another image I had to get out of your head. Y'all sure was not a carpenter. He was a brick mason. So what kind of hands did he have? They weren't manicured and pedicured and all that, and looking all nice. But theirs did. No miracles. Brick mason hands all rough and hard, raising people from the dead, making blind people see, making deaf hear and dumb speak. His hands. Let me read. Oh, and by the way, I counted 6 woes. Can you imagine? Do you think you not need to listen when this man says whoa? If he said, listen, if you just go and walk across the street and somebody behind you says whoa, just a person behind the street and you stop, you would say, wait a minute, just in case you may have missed something. It happened to me. And I got hit by a car as a child. When somebody says whoa, immediately, whether you know who it is or not, you kind of pause, you stop. Because the person is saying an urgent word for a reason. They ain't going to explain a whole dissertation. Well, this car is going this. You just say one word of attention. Whoa! And that immediately grabs even if it's a little 2-year child, they will startle and stop doing what they're doing. Even a little child, that will startle you to stop whatever you're doing if you hear that sound. And Yahweh said at that dinner table 6 woes about these damnable souls. Not 1, but 6. How many times do we hear woe in the book of Revelations? For the people who live on the earth, who love this world. Woe. Woe. Don't you think whenever this man, anybody who says whoa, you want to pause and think about what's going on. But this man said whoa. Don't you think you want to hear everything he said after that whoa? That you need to be woe to? I ain't going to have the brother play it back again because I want to run out of time. But you read it. Luke 11, 37 to 54. And when he says, whoa, I think you better listen. For your sake. For your sake. Let me read the commentary. The New Testament and Old Testament pages 324 to 325. It hasn't gone in a while. And the commentary what it says on Luke 11, 37 to 41, it reads, in Jesus' dialogue with the Pharisees, the issue of cleanliness is raised. Jesus comments on the concern of the Pharisees may reflect the dominance of the Shemite opinion in the time of Jesus that the cleanliness of the outside of the cup does not affect the cleanliness of the inside. Jesus' statement on the inner impurities of the Pharisees should therefore be seen as a critique of this distinction. So, That's what the book is saying. What I said, they care more about ritual and looks than about substance. Now, on the commentary in chapter 11, 42, and then I'm going to read all the way down to 44 and then 51, some of it, not all of it. In the Old Testament, Israelites were required to tithe for the priest, the Levites, the poor, and the support of Jerusalem and its cult. And these regulations receive extensive treatment in the rabbinic literature as they are developed into a 12 tithe system. Jesus' comments may be directed against those who focus on these detailed system of regulations instead of the intent of the law. See? They all focused on the looks instead of what is the intent of all of these tithing that Moshe gave us. What is the heart? What is the root? What is the source of this? Jesus' accusation of, and I'm reading it as it is, you know I don't use these names, Jesus, but I'm reading it from the book, okay? Jesus' accusations, which still supports what I say. His accusation of the Pharisees for their neglect of justice may further echo the discussion of the commandments to love God and one's neighbors. And it goes on and says, although similar sentiments are common in prophetic traditions. Okay. So he said, wait a minute, you're focusing on, because remember the discussion goes on about how they are strict about all these tithings. There's 3 levels of tithes, which are legit. Tithing was in place before Moses, so you still should be tithing and helping wherever you're worshiping. But they didn't. What was the purpose of that? Not only that, these are damnable dogs, devils. What about the law of Jubilee? Every 7 years you're supposed to be debt free. These devils, that's why there's no forgiveness for them. The leaders of Israel were demon possessed. They didn't enforce the law of Jubilee. There was no Jubilee being kept in Yahushua's time. If there was, the people wouldn't be so poor and destitute and hungry and filthy and and homeless. All around the temple were scores and scores of homeless people, hungry, begging for anything. But the temple was rich. Millions coming to that temple 3 times a year, and tens of thousands every week in today's dollars. But they're going and doing what? In keeping the law, which is why they hated Yahweh, because in keeping the refurbished law, the refurbished commandment, it didn't require the temple, which negates their role and their money. What did Yahweh say out of his mouth? The love of mammon is the root of all evil. At the core, when you see dirt, filth, wrong and evil and injustice, at the root of it, you're going to see some kind of way there's money involved. And keeping the status quo is what they wanted, because they benefited in the status quo. Yahweh should come in talking about blessed be he who's persecuted, all this kind of stuff. They don't want to hear that nonsense. They want to hear pay all these tithes. Come here 3 times a year and bring your money. It's all about that. It ain't about righteousness. The narrative goes on. Jesus' comparison of the Pharisees to unmarked graves assumes the knowledge of the Old Testament purity laws concerning contact with corpses. So I talked about that. And it said, in neglecting the justice and the love of God. They neglected the justice and love of God, this says. They neglected the love of Yahweh, the reason for the laws, which we could not keep because their hearts are so wicked they didn't even know it. They didn't know their own stench. Yahushua comes a refreshing water cleans, blood stains. Yahushua cleaned the bloody stains of the old covenant. Wow. Is a brother deep or what? Yahonathan Dawid here, Yahweh for Hebrews and Christians. So we're going to go on I see my time running out. In this process, Yahushua's ministry, first we started off with the birth of Yochanan the Baptist, Yahushua's cousin, and Yahushua. Then we went on to the parallel ministries of John the Baptist and Yahushua. Then Yahushua's ministry, if you remember, started off kind of in secret. It was on a down low. It was not, he did not openly profess who he was. He even told people, do not say who I am. Do not go out and teach who I am. Keep it quiet. When he healed people, he wanted it done quietly. He did not want to be broadcast. That's how it was in the first year of his ministry. The only ones who believed and followed him were the Gentiles. We talked about that. Then after that, he gathered his disciples. And then he started his Galilean ministry. All this was in the first year. And he spent all night in prayer too, the Bible said, the work it says. Because Yahweh gave him some men who were just a hot mess. They were. And Yahushua prayed about that. Then we get his coming out. This is the coming out. This is Moshe 2.0. The Sermon on the Mount began the second year of Yahushua's ministry. The Sermon on the Mount, that's when he openly said, okay, I'm the Son of Man. I'm Yahweh's son. I'm here to give you a fresh teaching of the commandments. That happened on the Mount of Olives. And then after that, you got the scribes and the Pharisees and the elders and the lawyers who was sparring with him, trying to protect the old status quo. And then, because of that, that's when we get to where we're going to come up next. So I'm going to have the brother go there, but I'm not going to really go into it too much. What you're going to have here is, because of their cognitive dissonance, because of them want to hold on to the old way of access to Yahweh, because it benefited them, not the people, it benefited the leaders. Yahushua said from then on, he's going to have a new tactic in delivering this message. So we go to Matthew 13, 1-23. Go ahead, brother.
On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea, and great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he got into a boat and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. Then he spoke many things to them in parables.
Behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places, where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground, and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
And the disciples came and said to him,
So we're going to stop it right there.
In parables.
We're going to stop right there. And I want you to keep it locked where you got it for Pastor Ron Davis comes up next. And this is where we're going to pick up from. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be on you.
Thank you.